Well, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. We're making our way into Rio, and you can tell it's an exciting port because you have everybody up on deck. You have even the crew are down front. Now, normally if the crew are down front watching us come in, it's something special. You can see Sugarloaf Mountain over my shoulder there. We're still waiting to pick up the pilot. And then we also have Copacabana Beach, pretty much straight ahead over here. And then as you continue sweeping on down to Ipanema, unfortunately, the statue of Christ the Redeemer right now is shrouded in clouds, but the way the winds are blowing, we might get a shot of that in just a few minutes. But it's an exciting moment here coming into Rio de Janeiro. Take a look. Look at everybody up here. They're lining the rails. Okay, as we get closer, you can see the cable cars making their way up to and down from Sugarloaf Mountain. We also have a little bit closer look at Copacabana Beach. We're waiting for the pilot to come on board, and then we'll start making our way into where we'll be docked by about 6 o'clock this evening. But it's a spectacular afternoon for our approach into Rio, and the anticipation of everybody is quite, it's palpable. You can feel it around the ship as everyone gets ready to go off to the samba shows tonight, go out to dinner, perhaps go out for dancing, and then, of course, hit the ground running tomorrow. And we're going to do the same thing tomorrow as we take you out and see some sights like real tourists. So we're right here at the Mario Filho Stadium, built in 1950. We're going to go take a look inside, but before we do, we would be remiss if we didn't take a look at, of course, the great Pelé's footprints here. They have quite a few of the great soccer football players over the years. There's one for Romario, Eusebio, and more. But of course, perhaps the most famous soccer player, or football player as we should call him, in the world, and certainly Brazilian football player, was Pelé. Well, we're getting ready to take our tour of the stadium, and as we've come in, we can see where it all began in 1948, the vision of the stadium that was going to be used in the 1950 World Cup, which Brazil lost in the finals to Uruguay. As you can see, groundbreaking, the work site starts to take shape. And at the time, it housed 200,000 fans. 200,000 fans. It's now been changed to about 100,000, right? We're going to go take a look inside. This is the Mecca of football here in Brazil and for many people in the world. Brazil's a 5-time World Cup champion, the first one in 1958 with the great Pelé. He was 16 years old. And you can see here's his picture, and it's also where everybody seems to touch because it's worn away right there. How interesting is that? The second time they won it in 1962. And Pelé is down here in the front row, right? Right here. There he is, not looking at the camera. The third time, 1970. And Pelé is right here. So, fourth time in 1994. And then the last time in 2002. Here's a mock-up of the stadium complex. Of course, you have the huge stadium. And then we also have a smaller covered stadium, which is used for events like baseball. And do they do track and field? Baseball, basketball. And also concerts here. And the Pan Am Games are coming to Rio in 2007. They've also had a lot of great concerts here. And they even show some of the acts that have performed here, from Frank Sinatra to Prince to Carlos Santana, Madonna. But the largest concert ever here in the stadium was Paul McCartney, 202,000 people. 92. In 1992. Also the Pope came here as well.
79.
But now it's time to go take a look inside the stadium. But it really is quite a mecca here in Rio. For a stadium that holds 100,000 people, it certainly seems relatively intimate with these overhangs here. And you're still fabulous vantage points. We're going to go down at field level in just a little bit. But you can see everything's pointing towards 2007 when they have the Pan Am Games here. But the field looks ready for a game right now. The pitch is all set. It's all lined out. And just picture the history that has taken place here over the years with the great Pelé and some of the other magnificent Brazilian teams. Well, we're on our way down into the dressing rooms. Here's a famous picture of Ronaldo after they defeated Germany in 2002. And he wrapped himself in the Brazilian flag. So we're going to head down and have a look at the dressing rooms. One great thing about football, as opposed to American football, is that they don't need huge locker rooms for all the equipment. It's pretty sparse in here, really. But it doesn't take much to put on a pair of shorts and your soccer cleats and be ready to go. They all have their own private showers behind here. And then we're going to head out to the field. I'm not sure if you can really see this in the light. You know, in American baseball stadiums, they have batting cages underneath the stadiums for the guys to take some swings. Well, here, this is where they warm up for the games, underneath the stadium as well, just off the locker room. Just a small little room with a mock goal there where they can just get warmed up and ready to play. Okay, we're going to take the walk now that the teams make to go down to the field. There's actually two separate entrances. There's one on the other side for the one locker room, and then this one for the other opposing team's locker room. But you can see not a whole lot of headroom here. I don't know what it would be like if you had a basketball game here, how the guys would get onto the field. They'd probably have to crawl. But let's go on and take a look at the field from the field level. So here we are at field level. As you can see, the lower level is all under construction. But they anticipate for this afternoon's game about 60,000 fans coming into the stadium here. And it's all ready to go. The famous pitch in Rio. Of course, Rio famous for Carnival, and this is where they'll have a lot of the big concerts during Carnival. And then we're going to go later on our little Rio at the ground level tour and see the actual grandstands where the parades. Sambódromo. For the big parade. All right, that's where the big parade, the famous parade is. So here we are at the famous Sambódromo, and this is the area that they have all the parades during Carnival. It was actually constructed in 1984 by Oscar Niemeyer, who designed the capital of Brazil, Brasilia. So you can still see some of the remnants left over from this year's Carnival all over. It's about a half a mile long. And you can imagine when the stands are all full. They also have some boxes over here that they're $10,000 and they seat about 50 people. So you can get together and have your own private box on the right hand as we're looking down, and then on the left hand side you have all the different viewing stands. So for those of you who have ever been here for Carnival and seen the parades, this is where it takes place, right here in Rio. We're standing outside the Metropolitan Cathedral, which was built between 1963 and 1979. And without benches inside, it can take about 20,000 people, but with benches, it's 5,000. The very first service here was held by the Pope in 1979. You also have the bell tower over here just outside. That's 80 meters high. Really quite a unique looking structure here in the heart of Rio. Here's a look inside of the cathedral. As you can see, it really is quite stunning. The architecture is so unique, and the ventilation through here is such that it just never gets hot. It's always very cool. We're going to take a walk over to the other side where they have the conveyance that the Pope used when he came here in 1979. But the stained glass is just stunning when you see it in person. I'm not sure that the video itself can ever do justice to something like this. Well, we're on our way up to the statue of Christ the Redeemer in Corcovado, a gift from the French. Back in 1926, it was completed in 1931. So just as the French gave us the Statue of Liberty, so they gave Christ the Redeemer statue to Rio. And it's quite a magnificent spot work. I don't know, maybe 2/3 of the way up or so. But Rio is such a city of contrast, because as you look right over here where this magnificent rainforest used to be, some very, very wealthy homes here. And then all you need to do is look in the distance to the next hill where you have some of the poorest sections of Rio with some of the most choice real estate. Well, we're almost up the 220 steps to take us up to the base of the Christ of the Redeemer statue. Of course, this is a place that everybody that comes to Rio visits. And we are certainly no exception. I would venture to guess just about everybody here today has made their way up here. Everybody on the ship, at least. I certainly hope so. Even though the weather's not cooperating as far as visibility, and still is a sight you're not likely to forget.